From an early age we are shaped to seek the approval of others. The smiles and expressions of our parents teach us, even in childhood, to depend on external stimuli. This practice continues throughout life, creating in us a constant need to please everyone, even strangers. In the modern world there is an enormous emphasis on social validation, which has led to a population of men and women with stunted personal development. Often we set aside our own dreams out of fear of being judged. It's natural to care about what others think to a certain extent, it helps social interactions. However, when that concern turns into obsession it becomes harmful. We spend time and energy imagining what others think of us, preventing ourselves from living fully. As Richard Taylor states in Restoring Pride, we place excessive value on social approval and have an irrational fear of criticism, rejection, and disapproval. Instead of following paths aligned with our talents and desires, we conform to others' expectations. Social validation is almost always tied to external symbols of success, the job we hold, the material goods we possess, our physical appearance, our lifestyle, the status of the people we associate with. When we place our happiness in the hands of others' approval, we give them control over our emotional state. We become euphoric when we are accepted and depressed when we are not. On social media this is intensified. Many make positive attention a requirement to feel good, becoming emotionally dependent on the will of those they try to impress, often people they don't even know. Research shows the impact of this. The National Worry Audit Study, conducted with 2,000 British adults, revealed that the average Brit spends about 6.5 years of their life worrying. And a large part of those worries revolves around what others think. That is an absurd amount of time wasted on something that, in the end, shouldn't have so much weight in our lives. Kazuhiko Koga and Ichiro Kishimi, authors of The Courage to be Disliked, argue that the key to happiness lies precisely in the courage to be disliked. They explain that we must free ourselves from the fear of disapproval in order to live authentically. Many of us live trying to please others because we believe happiness lies in being seen as good by others. However, this pursuit inevitably leads to frustration and unhappiness because those who live for others' approval lose their freedom. According to the authors, this behavior pattern often stems from an upbringing based on rewards and punishments. Even when we achieve approval it comes at a high cost. We sacrifice our values, desires, and identity. Living by anticipating what others think is a form of slavery. True freedom requires the courage to be faithful to ourselves even if that means being disliked or rejected by some. This need for approval can lead to social anxiety. Public speaking, presenting work, or even simple interactions can become a nightmare. We feel tense, uncomfortable, and insecure. To overcome this we must reduce our fear of ridicule and rejection. Ancient philosophical practices suggest voluntarily getting used to disapproval. Roman Senator Marcus Porcius Cato, influenced by Stoicism, deliberately wore outdated clothes to get used to being ridiculed only when it truly mattered. Diogenes, the cynic, did the same. He walked against the crowd exiting theaters just to get used to nonconformity. His inner freedom was so powerful that even the scorn of the masses didn't affect him. Alexander the Great once said that if he weren't Alexander, he would want to be Diogenes. The purpose of such acts is not to attract attention but to develop courage, observe human nature, and test our psychological limits. As Nietzsche said, this is an exercise in psychological observation. When our actions provoke laughter or criticism, we should remember Schopenhauer's advice: see these reactions as data on human behavior, not something personal, but rather a reflection of the other. We should also reflect on who the people are whose approval we seek. Are they worthy of respect? Do they have critical, independent minds or merely repeat common opinion? If someone doesn't impress us, why would we feel the need to impress them? As Seneca said, it's madness to rejoice in the applause of fools. And as Schopenhauer emphasized, what goes on in others' minds is irrelevant to us, and this becomes clearer over time as we realize how shallow most opinions are. Many criticisms come from unhappy people who project their dissatisfaction onto others. Jung called this projection. When we reject aspects of ourselves, we end up seeing those same traits in others and react with disgust. Thus, the way others treat us says more about them than about us. Understanding this helps put other people's opinions into perspective. Exposing ourselves to ridicule teaches us that the world does not fall apart when we're rejected. Nothing truly bad happens if we are at peace with our choices. Over time, insults and judgments become insignificant noise. And if we commit to developing self-confidence, strengthening our body, mind, and character, we'll build a life so solid that other people's opinions, whether positive or will no longer matter. In the end, there will always be people who don't like us. That's why the only way to find true happiness is to accept this reality and live with integrity, without depending on the approval of others. The courage to be disapproved of is often the price of freedom and a full life.